Remember these beautifully messy, grungy backgrounds we created with our DIY ink smusher? Well, what if I told you that in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to transform these textured masterpieces into stunning, finished cards that look like they took hours to make? Welcome back to Glitter Grunge Greetings. I'm Ryan, and today I'm going to be taking these perfectly imperfect backgrounds and turning them into 5 completely different card styles using simple techniques that anyone can master. If you missed our game-changing ink smusher video, an idea that I took from NB Cards, I will link it in the description. But for now, we're going to dive into the fun part, which is making these grungy beauties into cards you'll actually want to send. We're talking dies, stamps, layering techniques, and some unexpected tricks that will elevate your card game instantly. So grab your favorite crafting beverage because we're about to turn texture into magic. For the first card, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to be using this perspective butterfly. This is one of Tim Holtz' probably most commonly used stamps. So why not use it here as a nice bold focal point in the center of the card? Maintaining white space on a card front is something I do struggle with. I will say I don't have a plan for any of these cards. So I'm actually going to take the stencil because it is so bright and beautiful and bold, but I do want to break it up a little bit. So I loaded up my brush here with the white unicorn pigment ink from Hero Arts. And now I'm just going to start in the corner. Important part is just making sure your stencil stays in place. Before this dries, I'm actually going to try to heat emboss this. So I have some clear embossing powder from Ranger, and I'm just going to sprinkle this over the top. And this is going to give us a nice gloss. And I kind of like to just tap it from the bottom to kind of make sure it's all covering the ink. Now I'm just going to take my embossing gun and just hit it with a little bit of heat to set the embossing powder. So I'm going to go back and just repeat the same technique here. Just going to start from the bottom this time. Let's lift off. And we're just going to... So there we have the added flourish embossed stencil. Because this is a brand new stamp, I'm going to be using a mono eraser, which is a sand eraser. And I'm just going to lightly graze the surface of the stamp. And this is going to help the ink give something to stick to. I'm going to be using some VersaFine Clair. This is a beautiful black pigment ink. I'm using a stamping platform because I do want to make sure I get a solid impression. And if I don't get it on the first time, a stamping platform allows me to go back in and give it a second coat. I get my embossing powder ready. I just gently tap the bottom to make sure that the embossing powder has distributed on all of the ink. You can see the shine on there. So pretty. So it's going to be a nice contrast to our background. So I'm just going to fussy cut this out. And as I fussy cut, I like to move my paper, not my scissors. And I'm not looking for perfection. In fact, this is going to be a grungy card. So it doesn't have to be perfect. And there's our butterfly, all stamped, all embossed, and cut out. We're going to go in with some stamps just to break up some of this white and rainbow. I really want to add some texture and to bring out some of the black ink from the butterfly. I'm going to stamp naked with these because they're silicone and they're very flexible. I'm going to be using some archival black soot. Archival is great because once it dries, it won't smear. And I'm just going to ink up the silicone stamp here. Now I'll go in with this one. This has got honeycomb texture to it. I'll do one more. This is just a nice little bold font along with some script. Now I'm just going to quickly heat set this so I don't smear any of that ink. We're going to need a sentiment for this card. So I'm going to take another piece of cardstock and I'm actually going to take a sentiment here from the stamp set that we just used. It's all perspective. I love that. It's nice and bold. It's going to work really well with the black. I might just have to heat emboss this again because we've already been embossing everything. So just going to repeat the same process. And I'm going to grab my VersaFine Clair, grab my paper, grab my embossing powder. All right, there we go. I'm making a last minute addition because I just saw this stamp and I actually love this numerology stamp. So I'm going to just get a little bit of this on the background too because I think it's going to be nice and bold. I have pretty much all of my elements now done. I'm just going to do a little bit more detailing. This is a edge distresser. You can get the same effect with a pair of scissors. The easiest way to do this is actually off your table. Sorry if the camera's shaking. It's got a nice distressed edge there, which I just think adds a little bit more interest to it. So I'm going to go in and do all of the rest of the sides and also going to do it to my butterfly and my sentiment strips. I have some distress ink in black soot and I'm going to use a blending foam here because I don't want a ton of ink on here, just a little bit to give it a little bit of shadow along the edges. I'm just going to graze it a little bit and do the same thing with my card front. Just a standard top folding card base I've made. I'm going to use some foam tape because I love adding dimension to my card. So line it up and snip it. So basically just go around and frame it out. And this also is a good way to flatten your background if you had a lot of warping when you did your ink smushing. So it does help bring it back to a flatter shape. And I'm just going to put just a couple in the center to give it some support. So now that we have our tape all adhered onto the card front, I'm going to just peel off the backing. And because I'm a little extra and I want this to stay secure over time, I'm actually going to add a little bit of liquid glue to the tape itself just to make sure it gets a good stick. So I just go along and basically trace the tape. And now I'm just going to pop it down. You guys know I can't do anything straight, but I do try to get my card fronts straight on the card base. I'm going to use an acrylic block. While this is drying, I'm going to set this off to the side and we're just going to grab some more foam tape and I'm going to add it to my sentiment and my butterfly. And then if you really don't want to see the white of the paper, you can actually take a Sharpie. This is a nice way to cover up your foam tape. So we're going to add a little bit of liquid glue to the back of the tape. Make sure it's nice and centered. Same thing to the sentiment. And just pop your acrylic block on top. Let it dry. Crystal sequins here. And I'm just going to put a couple down. Let's see, we'll put one right there. I'm going to do 5. All right, so now that I have them placed, I'm just going to glue them down. Our first card, all done, and it's nice and bold. And I love the contrast of the black and white with the rainbow. It just really pops off the page. So, all right, there's one card done. Let me clean up, reset, and we'll start on the next one. For the next card that I have an ink smushed background. Now this one I didn't do in the original DIY tutorial, but I had this in my stash and I figured this was a great video to demonstrate how I want to turn a busier background into a more elegant card. Now, I don't have a full plan for this card yet, so I'm feeling a little vulnerable, but we'll see how it goes. So first and foremost, I'm going to go in and use some stamps to create a little bit of texture in the background. I have a variety of stamps here. This is a Hero Art stamp set. I'm just going to be taking the leaves. I'll start with some vintage photo, another archival ink. Stamp in some leaf texture, and I'm just going to change directions as I go. I'm even going to bring in a little bit of the ground espresso, which is an even darker brown. So now I'll come in with some more leaf stamps. I don't want them all to look the same, so I'm trying to give a little bit of variation. Some white pigment ink there, a little bit of water to it. I'm going to use a paintbrush. We're just going to splatter the card. Use a toothbrush for this, but I think this works just fine. Just going to hit that with the heat gun real quick. So as you can see, I've already pre-cut this die. I'm actually going to try to tear this. I want it to be an accent on the card. I don't want it to be the entire situation. So I'm going to break it up as best as I can. I think for our needs, I'm going to go with this one. And I'm going to take a little bit of vintage photo. And I'm just going to hit the edges a little bit. So I have a little hello die here, word die. This is from Hero Arts. So I think I'm just going to cut this out in white, keep it nice and simple. I'm going to set up my sandwich here. I'm using the Spellbinders Platinum 6. So I'm just going to pop this out. Let me grab my pokey tool. Where'd it go? I'm going to do actually a couple. I'm going to do a shadow die. And I'm going to do that out of some gold cardstock. So let me just cut down some gold metallic cardstock. Go, just get some scraps here. If you don't have a word die that has a shadow portion, basically an outline, you can just go in and trace it just like that. Everything sticks to the silicone mat, which is both good and bad. I go in here, we're just going to cut this. All right, and there we go. We have a little shadow die cut, hand cut. Now we're going to attach these all together. So I'm just going to take my liquid glue and let's not get crazy. Oh no. So I'm going to pop that down there, let it set, let it dry, and I'll be right back with my little paper distresser. And I'm going to hit the edges, all 4 of these edges to make them nice and frayed. I have distressed the edges. As you can see, I love the look of that. I probably overdo it, but it is what it is. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, we're going to attach this to our card base. And with this, I'm just going to use a little bit of tape runner, and I use a little bit of liquid glue. I like to double dip. I'm not going to pop this one up though. Looks pretty good. All right. pop a block on it, and then I'm just going to start gluing back of my die cut. Right in the corner there. I think that's darling. Put some glue down, pop a block on it, let it sit for a moment. So I'm going to go in now and just add a few sparkles, of course. I'm bringing back my sequins. So here we are. Here is the finished card number 2. And as you can see, it's got some grunge, it's got some bling, all the things I love. All right, we're on to card number 3. We're going to keep these colors a little bit lighter, at least for the background. And I'm going to bring out that stencil again. This one is the flourish, and then this one, I forget what the name of this pattern is, but I love this diamond pattern. And we're going to start here in the center. And I'm just tapping, focusing my color in the center of the card. That looks pretty good. So I want to go in with this flourish stencil, and I'm going to add a little bit of color to it. So I'm actually going to grab the colors I used to do the ink smushing. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. Bringing out the detail. Load up the brush. Look at that. Beautiful. Exactly what I'm going for. And just play around with it. Just kind of fill in any gaps, or if you want to add a little extra detail, don't be afraid. And I'm just doing tapping, really. Maybe just a little bit more up here. And I'm actually going to flip my stencil going in the opposite direction. Just gives me some variation on the shapes. Load this up, and I can be pretty heavy with this because this is such a bright, light color. So I have another text stamp from one of the mixed media stamp sets from Tim Holtz, and I'm just using some Hickory Smoke Distress Archival. Honestly, it will just look incomplete, I think, without a little bit of some text here. These are not very juicy ink pads, so I really need to get the re-inkers for these. Up there. Then I think what I'm going to do is just go in with a little bit more white splatter, maybe even some gray splatter too. A little bit of that white pigment ink down. There we go. A little bit more water. Just gives it a nice grungy look. And now we are going to stamp out our peony. I'm going to be very generous with this anti-static because I really want this to be nice and clean on the top. And now I'm going to go in with some Versamark, stamp up the image, grab our image, and let's emboss. We got that done cleanly. Nice, solid image. It's crisp, it's clear. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut this out, and then I'm going to start putting our card together. We're going to use some metallic cardstock for the layering to really help bring out the shine. I actually think I want to stamp on some black cardstock with white. Hello, friend. Embossing powder. I'm just going to emboss this real quick. Might need to go with just a little bit of a damp rag. I'm going to fussy cut it. We're going to grab some silver cardstock. All right. And then we're just going to adhere this to the card base. This will be a nice matting layer. Adjusting. I think it's straight enough on there. A little foam tape never hurt anybody. All right. For better or for worse, that's where it's going. Yes, that's where we're going to put it. There we go. This is our own custom sized card too, because I think this is a 5 by 6.5. So I'm breaking the rules. So let's get out our sequins. Just got 5 on here. Keep it zesty. They say that it's good to work in odd numbers. Kathy Zilski, she's the sequin master. She said it creates energy. It's energizing. So here we are. Here is the finished card. It's got nice shine. I love the kind of chrome from the metallic cardstock. And yeah, I actually like it a lot. I'm going to start on card number 4. I'm going to be using one of our super colorful, bright rainbow smushed backgrounds. And I love the vibrancy of this. I'm going to die cut right through the center of this rainbow background. We have a nice, beautiful circle to do on another card. I think I'm going to go in and grab some more stamps from my silicone stamp sheet. And I kind of like this stamp. I think this is going to be a fun texture to put in the background. This is the Hickory Smoke Archival ink. And I'm just stamping it down nice and faint. Do some secondhand stamping just to get a little bit more texture down. So the first stamp we're going to do is put this little whirlpool design in the middle. These are silicone stamps, so they don't necessarily stamp the best, but it's better than nothing. All right, cool. Got a little bit of a focal point. This is actually going to be beneath our dragonfly. I'm just stamping it up with some black soot, archival ink. Might have to go down a couple times with this. I think the Hello Love will actually look really good in there. I'm going to do in the black pigment ink because I want it to be really crisp. And I inked up the inner rim of the circle. I'm going to put this on a craft card base. So let me grab my distress ink and we're just going to go along the edges here, blend it out. Not quite so harsh. I went ahead and splattered it with some black distress ink. I'll probably add a few sequins to it, but I'll do that once it dries completely. For the fifth card, I'm going to try an embossing technique with a background die. Hopefully, aha, there we go. It worked. So now that I have my embossed cardstock, and as you can see, it's just a bunch of little butterflies, I'm going to take some distress ink. I'm going to try to run this across the top of it so it'll just hit the raised edges. It's a little more grungy than I was expecting, but be careful what you wish for, right? So I'm just going to heat set that. I don't smear anything. We're going to stamp out some more butterflies. Actually stamp out a few just so I have some options. We're going to use some VersaFine Clair. Bring it down. Careful. Nice. And we will quickly emboss our butterflies here. I'm going to fussy cut all these out real quick. So I've decided on 3 of these smaller butterflies. I like sending you hugs. So that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to switch it up since we already have a card that has white font on black cardstock. We'll come in with the silver. I think silver will look nice. There we go. Beautiful. Just going to shake it off a little bit, let it cool down. There we go. That is all embossed. So now I'm going to grab my trimmer. Let's get this card panel attached to the card base. Pop that down. Let it dry for a moment. And then for these, I think I'm going to pop up these butterflies. I settled on doing them all in a straight line, and I hope you guys like my last minute decision. Now that that one is all dry, and then we will go in and add just a few sequins to this one as well, just to create some more movement and interest. And they're just subtle enough. You just get a little glimmer in certain lighting. All right, so the cards are finally complete. So let me clean up here and I'll see you in a second. There we have it. 5 completely different cards using our ink-smushed backgrounds. Some turned out better than others, and honestly, that's okay. That's the beauty of creating without a plan. You get these happy surprises, some unexpected challenges, and a whole lot of learning along the way. This is the first card we did using the perspective butterfly stamp from Tim Holtz along with the sentiment stamp. It's all perspective, and I think this just turned out stunning. This actually might be my favorite. And it really set the tone for the rest of the cards. The second card here, although this was not done in the original DIY ink smushing tutorial, this background I had done recently with the ink smusher, and I'm really glad I incorporated it into this video because it kind of breaks up the bright, vibrant rainbow theme and gives us a little bit more of a muted, vintagey feel. This third card was definitely my most challenging. I definitely had to make a lot of last minute decisions to help it all come together. Tell me what you guys think about it. I love the way that all the metallic really shines. I'm very happy with that. This was our dragonfly, and I kept it pretty simple on this one. As you can see, the background pretty much speaks for itself. I wanted to create a balance of both the vibrant rainbow and incorporating a little bit more white space into it to break it up. So you could do this with a million different kinds of focal point stamps. You could cut out different shapes for your frame. Just experiment and have fun with it. I love the simplicity of this. Our last card was our butterfly / moth trio. And this one was using a dry embossing technique where I embossed with a background die. I coated the surface with black distress ink, and it just gives us all those beautiful raised butterflies. And I did wind up popping up the wings of the butterfly to give it some added dimension. So sending you hugs really stands out. This card was simple to make, but it gives a very bold result. What I love most about this whole process is that we started with the textured backgrounds from our DIY ink smusher. If you missed the tutorial, I will link it right up there and also in the description down below. This little tool is truly a game changer, and seeing all of these finished cards just proves how versatile these grungy backgrounds can be. Now I'm dying to know, which one was your favorite? Did any of these techniques surprise you? And more importantly, what would you have done differently? Drop a comment down below and let me know. I read every single one, and your ideas often inspire my next videos. Head on over to my Instagram, where I will be taking close-up photos of all of these cards, whether you're a seasoned card maker or just starting out. Remember that every creation you make is a step forward in your creative journey. Stay creative, stay authentic, and I'll see you in the next one.